Are you tired of being spoon-fed US propaganda? Are you tired of current event turmoil and need a fresh breeze of air in their life? Are you like me and love garbage diving for a living, led only by a slim chance of finding occasional 7-carat gold ring that somehow accidentally ended up in a garbage bin next to a severed finger? Then it's your lucky day.
Nice.
In recent weeks, I've been looking for horrible African movies country by country and stumbled across just such a golden ring. I swear, officer, the finger was there when I got here. Senegal is a country, but it wasn't always a country. For most part, it belonged to a made-up country that luckily don't exist anymore. Today, I've chose to bash 6 Senegalese produced movies because last year I saw a movie called Saloum and decided to go back to check if the corpse is still warm. When I got back, the corpse wasn't only still there, but it also had aged really well. So much so that it made me to look around and find many other corpses like this lying around. I'm talking about the state of African cinema, of course. Don't get me wrong, what I found going back not only surpassed my expectations, it led me to a rabbit hole I don't ever expect to recover from. Not with the current inflation rates. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. The legend of Giga Chad called Ousmane Sambin awaits us ahead. Saloum starts with a trio of mercenaries escaping a coup in Guinea-Bissau, then to take refuge in a hidden region on the Saloum River of Senegal. But something from beyond the grave awaits them there. It is also probably the most recent and accessible Senegalese movie, as it is streaming on Shudder right now. First things first, I have a soft spot for a low to no budgets. I truly enjoyed the creative prowess these filmmakers put into their work. I have to let you know, I tend to ignore any quality drops or poor CGI. The movie's made on a shoestring budget. What do you want from me? If anything, it adds to the experience. Let's begin with the visual aspects. While the cinematography may not be breathtaking or flawless, the movie manages to leverage its CGI effectively, considering the limitations of the circumstances and the budget. Regarding the performances, the actors did a commendable job. The chemistry works really well among the 3 mercenaries. They shine most brightly in the opening moments of the film, almost as if the first 10 minutes held the promise of a superior film compared to what unfolded thereafter. Director and screenwriter showcased an uncompromising approach to storytelling. They unearthed a captivating piece of history and skillfully wove it into a fabric of their characters, making them integral to the plot and their individual growth. The narrative explores daring themes that are, well, they are typically not explored in the mainstream US productions, such as child trafficking and the infamous recruitment of young individuals into African child armies. However, the film loses me with its second half. I initially appreciated the unexpected turn the movie took. It reminded me from Dusk Till Dawn. If you know what I mean, you know what I'm talking about. I hate to say it, but the change of gears introduced a level of messiness. While I usually admire bold choices in movies, for some reason, it didn't quite blend well with the rest of the film. I may understand the filmmaker's intentions with the second half, and I can't see how these daring choices might resonate with many viewers. They certainly displayed a level of audacity that I for sure encourage in filmmaking. However, from a structural standpoint, something felt off. As a result, I find it challenging to completely recommend the film. Therefore, I would rate it 5 out of 10. In order to gain some context needed to understand the culture and the politics of the country, I dived head first into a documentary about what I can only describe as the daddy of the sub-Saharan cinema. You know why they say don't jump head first into unknown waters? Well, because there might be a concrete pole just beneath the surface waiting to give you a ticket to a handicapped parking spaces for life. This is what pretty much happened to me. I need the money now to pay up the doctors and rebuild my spine from the scattered pieces, so I could spread the message of this Giga Chad of a man. 7-carat gold ring? Nah, this is sapphire, buddy, found in an illegal Congo mine. except that it's not illegal nor mine, and not even close to Congo's crimes against humanity. Me, as a person of exquisite taste, I had pleasures learning about biographies of most grand filmmakers like Kurosawa, Wells, Bergman, Tarkovsky, Gray, and many more. This documentary felt like a biography book about one of those undiscovered grand filmmakers from the 20th century. It reminded me so much of these renowned and difficult personalities whose genius was undeniable despite their unlikable traits. Semben's story left me eager to explore more of his films into the African cinema landscape, which is probably the best thing one can expect from a documentary like this. It provided comprehensive look about Semben's life and allowed various individuals from his past to discuss his work and its impact. While it didn't reinvent the wheel in any shape or form, it succeeded in portraying the man of the hour. One thing that stood out to me was Semben's dedication to having a strong message in his films. There were not genre pieces wrapped into a political commentary, but dramas full of heart and anxiety about the status of the Senegalese politics and culture. I want to highlight this by the quote from the Ingmar Bergman. I think that those that are emerging are incredibly talented. These young, emerging directors, they know the job well, but it's not so often that they really have anything to say. That's the opposite from Semben's films. They serve as the language to convey his politically resolute ideologies. The documentary showcased his willingness to take a stance and expressing his views. He didn't shy away from addressing controversial topics, such as controversial practice of female circumcision. Semben was unafraid to have his films banned rather than compromising his artistic integrity. I do recommend Semben. Documentary opened my eyes to his background, humble origins, and his challenging journey from physical labor to his larger-than-life status as a pioneer in sub-Saharan cinema. I would rate this documentary 6 out of 10. Me, as a casual Mercury enjoyer, I can safely say that I'm not the biggest affiliate with French New Wave cinema. Don't get me wrong, there are a few gems, but my smooth reptilian brain hadn't matured enough to appreciate the art. Maybe sometime in the future. Maybe. But that's the kind of energy I received from the first shots of the 1966 film Black Girl, Ousmane Semben's feature debut and probably first sub-Saharan black director's film. However, when I gave it a chance, unlike some people in my life, it took my second-hand weed joint rolled with the damp paper and flushed it down the half-clogged public bathroom. This film stands out, especially with a strong and focused vision from the director. He chose a tool of narration to lead the movie forward. Oh no, hold on, I know you're about to stop the video, hear me out. He did what is, in my opinion, the only way to do narration. In general, narration is best used to tell things you can't or won't show on camera. Instead of focusing on plot points, this film delves deep into inner workings of the young woman abroad. Visually, the film was on point. However, I'd say there was some lack of production design, but that's just nitpicking, though it could be attributed to some exterior circumstances, as this film looked and sounded better than anything Godard come up with. The soundtrack featuring African music added depth to the movie's atmosphere and balanced it out really well with its dark and brooding themes. It created an equilibrium I didn't know I needed in my life. Screenplay of the film explored themes such as immigration, colonialism, which were well executed and damn right relatable to me. Also, I should emphasize that the film is only 60 minutes long, so it gives you no choice but to sit down and watch it. All the performances in the film were excellent, particularly that of the lead actress. She portrayed an immigrant searching for a better life with grace and poise. Her depiction of the inner and outside battles she faced were constantly captivating. It was a stoic performance that resonates to the core. Although the ending felt somewhat unnecessary, while I believe I understand the intention behind it, I also think there could have been a different approach that maintained the impact of the story. Nevertheless, I do really recommend this film, especially to those who have experienced immigration or simply is looking for diversifying their cinema diets. It is a thought-provoking piece that sheds light on the relationship between France and Senegal, a real country, and I made up one. In conclusion, it's an excellent jumping off point to Senegalese cinema, and I would give it a strong 7 out of 10. Today, I had peanuts for lunch. That's a sad reality of trying to survive on your own in a modern day city. There's no work, and the only option is to immigrate elsewhere, where you need to pay the employer in advance for administrative fees, which, as you guessed it, are never ending. Then, after you mortgage your house for the second time to leave abroad, you get your passport taken from you, and then you are forced to work in a labor camps, or in the best case scenario, they get you lost somewhere in North Midlands. This is not exactly what happens in Mondabi, it's actually really far from it. Mondabi revolves around lives of poor people in the outskirts of Dakar. The struggles reminded me somewhat of Drunken Angel, one of the earlier works of Kurosawa. Also, I recommend. It's interesting to see how poverty affects people in different parts of the world, how different and also the same these struggles are. It's a theme that transcends borders and time, though it yet to resonate with 1%ers. Visually, Mondabi is well shot and well lit film. The costumes and set designs are impressive, and this time Semeben didn't shy away from using color to tell his story. The acting is particularly noteworthy, with the protagonist delivering a memorable performance. He portrays a man who receives a money order and spends 2 weeks trying to cash it out, facing bizarre and serious consequences along the way. It's a testament to the solid acting and the sensitive direction that leads the story to their quite predictable but still devastating finale. To cash out some money in Africa today, you need money. You see, this is where most people fail. Well, including me. It's a joke on me, he progresses. Anyway, it takes very long to cash out money. People stand in line for days as the Western Union decide whose money order to cash out and who to send to the Rancor pit, also known as the best place in Africa, jail. This film is almost 60 years old, and if you'd say to the commentary, well, I wouldn't believe you because I actually saw the film. Nothing changed, only that the corporate overtook the money distribution. How 21st century is that? I should also add it's intriguing to observe different customs of Muslim in Senegal. Although Mondabi may not be groundbreaking, it offers a pleasant experience. There are comedic moments and unexpected twists that keeps the story engaging. However, towards the end, the pace and the story seems to lose steam, arriving a little too late to its destination. Perhaps my marathon of watching Sembeben's films back-to-back affected my perception. Or maybe not. At this point, I don't know what the fuck is going on. To conclude, if you're interested in exploring Sembeben's work further, or just expanding your cinematic horizons, Mondabi is a film you should consider, deserving a rating a strong 6 out of 10. Do you know what limp dick syndrome means? Please, I'll spare you the search as one might not be satisfied with the explicit results. Especially when you're going to be a cowboy or significant other and ask such impossible to answer questions as, what do you want for dinner? And, I thought you had your porn addiction under control. Don't mind them, they don't know you're ascending into different dimensions of consciousness, because you're slowly becoming Senegalese cinema god. You don't know what to do with this power. As a result, you scare people. Do these powers have boundaries? Do boundaries even exist? Yet, we continue despite the omnipresent dread of the unknown. To answer this dreadful question, what is limp dick syndrome? Watch Hala, a 1975 film by Ousmane Sembène. The film primarily focuses on a corrupt and weak-minded politician/businessman. Once he takes a third wife, much to disapproval to the rest of his wives, and once it comes down to the business, he realizes he can't get his dick up. Feeling he's cursed, hence the name Hala, he goes on adventure to fix his manlyhood. The film is second installment of a political trilogy. I skipped the rest because I don't have time to watch everything, and the premise piqued my interest. Sembène depicted some polarizing politicians at the time, and quite honestly openly mocked them. His directing style gives the film light and approachable tone, making it more accessible compared to many European movies from that era. Also, it shines on screenplay front too. Original promise and the comedic undertone is what single-handedly carries the film. However, I have to say that the lighting in the film was freaking horrendous. For a four-feature film, it felt like there could be some attention to detail. The acting is also a bit inconsistent. It's strange because before acting felt just on point. But who's not at fault for miscasting or missing a beat once in a while? The pacing felt slow, but not off. It's exactly what this type of experience it needed. It's slow, but not a slow burner, going from place to place, surprising with unusual African customs, and especially mixed with Muslim traditions. Hala is not a masterpiece, so it's difficult to strongly recommend it unless you're specifically interested in this trilogy. If you want to get a taste of his work, I suggest watching Black Girl instead. I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. In order to make this list a little divisive, we'll leave semeben behind. We say goodbye to the communist legend Usman Semeben. Yes, he was a communist, and also finished his film studies in Moscow. Man, world is a bizarre place. Don't worry though, it happened way before it was cool to hate Russia. Next, and final film on the list shivers down my spine. Please, somebody hold my hand. This is African avant-garde film. Whew, that was a difficult moment right there. As a classy gasoline sniffer, I'm not too picky to what kind of entertainment I'm damaging my brain with. But this thing is not up my alley. I do not like avant-garde films. I've seen Your Color of Pomegranates. I've seen Your Andalusian Dog. I've seen Your Last Year at Marienbad. Although this is a banger of a film too. I'm not gonna be the pretentious filmmaker and act like they are a grace from God. I've seen what these movies does to people. I've seen grown men cry. I've seen families being destroyed over this.
It's probably the only thing that'll get a man to give up money, job, family.
This is a serious topic. I take avant-garde film crimes against humanity seriously. But then, I saw Touki, a 1973 film directed by Mbeti, and it pretty much changed my life. It reversed my vasectomy and cleaned my kidney stones. It was also endorsed by the cinema god Martin Scorsese himself. But before we delve into review, I would have to make a warning. If you are sensitive to scenes involving butchering of animals, I recommend approaching this film with caution, as it contains some really nasty footage. Moving on, it's important to also mention that Touki was made with mere $30,000 in cash, and the director had little prior experience or formal training. Despite these limitations, the film stands out as one of the best experience of African cinema I have encountered thus far. It never felt cheap or amateurish. I was engrossed in the experience from start to finish. It masterfully incorporates documentary-like aesthetic, showcasing numerous fantastic and captivating imagery that immerses you into African landscape. It delves deep further into poverty, dreams of better life, greed and theft. These themes persist throughout the film, showcasing two young lovers and their dream to leave Africa without any judgment or reservation. Of the matter of fact, the plot may be thin, but the plot is not what these movies are usually about. Touki maintains a constant pace, never lingers in one place. It's a quite refreshing departure from the common issue of these avant-garde movies I've seen before. If you look to appreciate clever filmmaking, I highly recommend giving a Touki a watch. It features vibes that you can only attribute to this film. The performances were stellar across the board. In fact, it's so remarkable to see such natural actors who likely had no formal training. It's disheartening to see the challenges faced by the African film industry and the limited opportunities that these talented actors have. Yet, when comparing the quality of acting in these films on the list with predominantly Western casts, it becomes so clear that there's this vast wealth of talent in Africa just waiting to be discovered. While I wouldn't classify this film as a classic, it offers an accessible avant-garde experience. If this review piques your interest, Touki should be at top of your list. I rated a strong 7 out of 10. However, I must emphasize my warning regarding the animal slaughter scenes. Coward, I hear you say. You keep on praising these films. Why such low scores? Well, guy or gal, it's not so simple. Or maybe it is. Going into the topic, I was, so to speak, green I had no prior knowledge of state or history of African cinema, and especially Senegalese one. The best expectation I had was something along the lines of Who Killed Captain Alex. But what I gladly discovered is rich and a hidden heritage that needs to be seen by the world and judged by itself. There's much talk about African heritage these days, but not through the lens of Africans themselves. This is me trying to fix that by bringing to everyone's attention the deep rabbit hole of what Africa is through the medium of cinema. I wouldn't call them low scores, I'd say they're medium. And they are medium because they're being judged against other movies of period and even today. And I'm proud to say these 20th century movies still holds up on their own, even better with some context. It's not something can say of what most European countries produce now. Those films are so behind that they have to be judged against themselves. A video on what I'm talking about is on to-do list. Do not worry. Also, I'm a little vague on what Senegalese cinema looks right now. These films are what I gather from my extensive research. If you are from Senegal or live around the region, please leave some more recent movies worth watching in the comments. Thank you. Overall, the time spent with these films won't go in vain, as the world of cinema is huge and ever expanding. This is a great way to fill in the gaps of your cinema catalog or expand the knowledge of the world around us, uncover the hidden, and have a good time. Tread well, my cohort. See you in the next one.